Hi, this is James O'Keefe, captain of the Massachusetts Pirate Party. I am sadly just a little orange ball with the initials JO in it for some reason. And we will deal with that. It's probably my computer. Anyways, I'll research that, fix it for next time. I'm joined today by, as always, Joe and Steve. How are you two doing today?
Doing well.
Nightly.
Cool. So, just for folks to know, we have the links in the description. On September 24th, we will be joining with Extinction Rebellion for their, they have a week of protests, and on the 24th, they're going to have a protest starting in Boston in Dewey Square, which some of you may remember from back in the day of Occupy Boston. So we hope you'll come out and join us. There's a link if you'd like to go and tell us you will be there so we can know to look for you. That'll be at 2:00, and we hope you'll come out for that. Now, on October 8th is going to be our pirate conference. We'd love it if you would show up for that. There's a registration link below, as well as if you want to speak or you have other folks who want to speak in a panel discussion on a piratey topic you have, there's another link for that. We'd love to have you on. Please have those submissions in by the 23rd of September. Those are the big things that we're focusing on for the next couple of weeks. But we'd love to have your feedback on these. If you want to enter stuff in the chat, we will do our best to respond to your questions in real time. So our first topic is the primary. It's over. Yay!
And we should be specific and say it's the Massachusetts primary. Other states have different primaries at different times, but being the Massachusetts Pirate Party, yes, we're talking about the Massachusetts primary.
Yes, New Hampshire's, I think, is coming up on the 13th, at least based on the ads I keep seeing. So are any thoughts on the current candidates who will be in the November election?
I mean, I think there will be a lot of attention focused on the governor's race. So on for the Democratic Party, the winner of the primary was Maura Healey, who I believe is our current Attorney General.
Correct.
Yes, so she will be facing off against the Republican primary winner, Jeff Deal. It's sort of Deal is, I think it was an interesting choice for the Republican Party because, while Massachusetts has sort of a history of electing moderate Republican governors, Charlie Baker and Mitt Romney come to mind. Jeff Deal does not fit that mold. So, I will be interested in seeing if the two of them will agree to a debate and how that debate goes.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think it's going to be interesting to see the auditor race, since not only is there a Democrat, there's a Republican, which is kind of usual, but there's a Green Rainbow candidate. I think there's a Libertarian candidate, and there's a Workers' Party candidate, if I recall correctly. So there's going to be 5 different people running for auditor, which should be interesting.
I mean, we're favoring the green one right now, as far as I know.
Well, we haven't made a decision as to who we're favoring.
Well, in my personal preference,
I understand.
But I mean, as far as who seems to be the best person for the job, I think it's really a toss-up for me between that or, I hate to say this, the Democratic person
Yeah,
for the job.
I
Yeah.
think it'll be interesting to see the Workers' Party and what they're going to do.
Yeah. I haven't heard much about them.
They're a new party, if I recall correctly. Sorry, Steve, you were going to say something.
yeah. I was going to say the winner of the Democratic race for auditor, Diana D. Zoglio. I'm not really familiar with her. I was sort of in Camp Dempsey, but unfortunately, in my opinion, things turned out the way they turned out. So, there's some new candidates I'll have to learn about.
I was also in Camp Dempsey.
Mm.
Now, who won the Attorney General for Democrats?
The Attorney General candidate for the Democrats is Andrea Campbell. And for the Republicans, it will be James McMahon.
I am a strong supporter of Campbell. I think that she will do a phenomenal job. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
And I was, well, it being a secret ballot, I'll not say.
Yeah, I mean,
the candidate didn't win.
So the Andrea Campbell, I first came to know about her, from the Boston mayoral election of, I guess it's about a year ago, 2 years ago, but she seems, I think she seems suited to the job for me.
Well, the person she was going against, Liz Reardon, she was a negotiator. She was like a litigator, whereas Campbell was much more of a fighter. And I think right now we need somebody who's going to be much more of a fighter for that position. Someone who's going to be tough as nails. Boston strong. So that's why I fully support Campbell for that position. I think I agree with you, Steve. I think she's going to be really good for that.
So we had some local stuff to talk about as well. Do you want to go, Steve? How are things in Arlington?
Well, things are fine. I guess one of the things that will be like a focus of our local government and probably 174 other communities in eastern Massachusetts are the requirements for the housing choice requirements that the legislature passed into law some months ago. This is also known as the MBTA zoning requirements for MBTA communities. And basically, the list of communities that are recognized by state law as MBTA communities, it's a classification. They will be required to provide a zone of reasonable size where multifamily housing is allowed by right. So this is potentially good news for our housing shortage in eastern Massachusetts. And, this could also lead to there's a potential for it to lead to some good transit-oriented development. So the idea is that if your community is served or nearby, the commuter rail, the bus network, the subway lines, then, you have to provide some housing, preferably near those transit facilities. Basically communities have a couple of, there's a sort of the phase-in period. Communities are going to have to submit an action plan first and then adopt the actual zoning regulations to implement the requirements or to satisfy the requirements, which will be, taking place over the next 2 years. So that's, is, to me, that's a very positive development.
Cool. I've also been volunteering with meshboston.net, They're a group of local activists that are taking the open source software that was put together by massmesh.org and using that and trying to roll that out. So I've got a node here. There's some other folks in Somerville, folks up in Salem and Brookline and Belmont that have nodes up. And we've got events coming up. So this upcoming Sunday, they're going to have a table at Brookline Day with a local independent ISP who hopefully will have on sometime to talk about what he's been doing in terms of building this small ISP. And then the Anarchist Book Fair is coming up in October. I believe it's October 24th and 23rd and 24th, and they'll have a table there. And with any luck, we're doing a presentation as well. So if folks want to find out more about them, you can check them out at meshboston.net. They're always looking for volunteers.
Now, is it expensive to get into doing a mesh net? Like, say, if you just have normal internet, how much does the cost to set up a mesh net go for? It's relatively low, right?
So the setup that we currently have, it consists of about $100 for the radio, which would be your Ubiquiti UAP AC mesh node or something like that. And then that's plugged into a Raspberry Pi, which is about 50 or more, $50 to $60 for the board, and then your SD card, power source, case, stuff like that. And so that the Raspberry Pi is the thing that provides the kind of smarts. It takes the data that comes in off the Wi-Fi access point, it encrypts it up, and it sends it over at this point, sort of test network called Yggdrasil, but it's used by more and more people, where it's end-to-end encrypted. And then you can go to any site within the Yggdrasil network, which in essence is an IP network that exists on top of the existing internet. Or you can go like in Tor to an exit node and go out onto the regular internet. So it's really sweet setup that's been put together. And so it's about, I would say, probably $150, $175. You can use it as your normal access point. And you can also provide access without fear that someone else is going to get onto your local network, because once it gets to the Raspberry Pi, it's encrypted and sent somewhere else. It's not like someone can go and scan your local network or something like that. So there's a lot of cool benefits to it. And if you have internet access, you can replace your existing access point with this.
Definitely something that we should bring to the attention of every local municipality that will hear what we have to say.
Absolutely. I mean, next week I'm going to be on the Somerville Media Center is going to have a talk about bringing broadband to Somerville, and I was on the Internet Task Force a long time ago at this point, pre-pandemic. and so I'm gonna bring the experience of what we concluded from that report, and there'll be other folks there talking about ways we can increase internet access within Somerville.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie, if the task force did produce a report, a link to that would be, I'm sure a few people, would be included, would be interested in reading that.
I will update the description with that. Thank you for that suggestion.
Now, let me throw my usual curveball at you, gents, if I may.
Go for it.
Please.
So, that being said, with the pandemic finally winding down, monkeypox seems to have mostly fizzled out. Though we'll see how the winter holds. You see us pirates, especially here in Massachusetts, starting to become a lot more active again, getting outdoors, doing stuff. It seems like our agenda is really starting to pop again. Are we going to start doing local meetings? We're going to start doing it, because that makes me all excited in the cockles and sub cockles.
My own personal. Well, why don't you go, Steve? What do you think?
I like Joe. I do miss in-person events, but I think this is going to be, well, I think there's still an element of wait and see. I more people, although more people are, going back to the office and working in person and, meeting in person. There's still a fairly sizable set of companies, et cetera, that aren't. And we're going to have to, before we have in-person events, we'll have to give some thought in, how to do it, ensure that we don't, inadvertently or unwittingly hold a spreader.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly want to encourage folks the new boosters are out or soon will be out to deal with the BA4 and BA5 variants. So I certainly encourage you to go and get boosted. It's a shame this is the world we have to live in, but we've got to protect ourselves and we've got to protect our loved ones and our neighbors and all. In terms of events, the 24th is an outdoor event, and personally, I know we were at the Trans Resistance March a while ago, and that was an event. That was a great event, and I don't think I know the folks who pirates who participated. I haven't heard anyone got COVID from that.
Yeah, outdoor events. Now that we understand how the disease spreads, and I think outdoor events are less of a concern. But going into winter, that might be a little bit of a challenge. So, we're going to see.
Yeah, absolutely. The Anarchist Book Fair will be. I know when I'm at it, I'll be wearing a mask. I certainly hope they'll have some windows open to let in some free airflow. But that will be an indoor event. The various panels and talks and things will all still be streamed, and indeed, our conference on the 8th will also be computer mediated. So it'll be video and audio, not in person, sadly. I certainly hope that next year we can do some in-person events. I know, Joe, you were organizing an event in Nashua, New Hampshire, and unfortunately, I had a COVID scare that prevented my participation. But I'd love to see if we can do that. Either I don't know. It would be certainly before it gets maybe in the spring at the latest would be great.
I'm sorry that fizzled.
Yeah, having outdoor events, I think, is good.
Yeah, I'm sorry that fizzled out. As much as I would love to say, hey, let's try again in November, I think that would be a little bit too cold for us to do that. But I think a lot of us are people who want to just get out, do stuff, do something. And I think that even though I appreciate doing all of these activities online and I understand its necessity, I am more of a man that lives in the moment through and through. And so trying to do all this planning and do all this, I'd rather have some actual items like, let's go stand at the State House. Let's go hold this sign. Let's go let our voices be heard. And it just makes it easier for people to come to our banner when our banner is out in the streets. So I would look forward to resuming what we were doing before. I think that was working.
Yeah, that'd be great. And certainly, if folks are interested in going out with me, mapping surveillance cameras in your community, I'm happy to take a drive and just go walking around. Um, Heaven knows I certainly need more steps in my life. Not Steve, though. Steve does 70-mile bike rides. So,
Oh yeah. So a little personal plug. Today was I did a ride for an organization called Bikes Not Bombs. They're a nonprofit in the greater Boston area that I really appreciate. Part of their work consists of taking donated bicycles left at public transit stations, etc., refurbishing them, packing them into shipping containers, and sending them to places in the global south. So today was their sort of annual fundraising ride, and I participated, got them some donations, and yeah, I had a 70-mile day, so it was a good day.
cool. So our last topic was what's coming up in terms of the ballot measures. Joe, do you have a summary of the ones that will actually be on the ballot?
I do. And actually, a better read is all the ones that didn't make it to the ballot. But that being said, one moment. So the three questions are additional tax on income over $1 million. The second one is regulation of dental insurance. And then the third one is expanded availability for the sale of licenses for alcoholic beverages. The first one, the tax for income over 1 million, is what they're proposing is that people who make less than $1 million get zero tax, whilst people who make over $1 million get 9% tax. So it's called the Fair Share. It's sponsored by Fair Share and Coalition for Social Justice Fair Share. And when you look at about how much money they've raised, it's in the millions.
So to be clear, it is a 4% additional tax. So currently we pay around 5% income tax. And this would mean if you have an income of more than $1 million, you would pay 9%, and everyone else would pay the 5%.
Oh, so they're not eliminating the people. I thought it was what they were originally trying for was to make it so that people under $1 million don't pay any taxes.
No,
I know that was part of their.
Sorry, go on.
No, I know that was part of their shtick, as you would say.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I know in Ballotpedia it says, in addition to the existing 5% flat rate income tax. And it will also dedicate the revenue to education and this additional revenue to education and transportation purposes.
See, I would be all for it if they were to get rid of the people under $1 million. And be like, just tax the rich.
Yeah. I don't think Massachusetts would have much in the way of revenue with that.
I mean, because Massachusetts we do not have a progressive income tax. It is, whatever income tier you are, you pay the same percentage, unlike, say the federal income tax, which, the more money you earn, the higher percentage you pay.
Unless you hide your money very effectively.
Unless you hide your
Jeff
money
Bezos and plenty others do.
Right. But, for people who go to work with an employer, they get paid on a W-2 or a 1099.
Right.
It's the tax rate is based on your adjusted gross income. In effect, what we're actually doing is creating two tax brackets in Massachusetts. And I mean, that doesn't seem like an unreasonable thing to do.
I mean, if it's done federally, it's already the accepted norm. So.
Yeah, I'll have to find that there's a group that goes and looks on a state-by-state basis, and they figure out of someone's income, how much of it goes towards sales taxes, property taxes, income taxes, state and local, and they total those up. And even, if you're in Massachusetts and you make, 200,000 or $1 million, then the amount, certainly $1 million, the amount that you pay as a percentage of your tax when you combine the state, income tax, the your local property tax, and the state sales tax, it's still about half of what someone in the lowest income bracket pays. So you may be paying, 5%, and they're going to pay more like 10%. Even in Massachusetts with that, because as your income goes up, your property taxes in essence go down relative to your income, and your sales taxes certainly do, because you're spending more on things like services that aren't necessarily taxed, or you're investing it or putting it into other things that certainly aren't taxed or not taxed by the state largely.
Now, next up on the list is the dental insurance, regulation of dental insurance. And so, I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand this one. Does this mean that dental insurance is going to be a part of Mass Health?
No. So I believe we passed either the state or probably another ballot initiative basically said the insurance companies have to they have a percentage that they have to allocate towards of premiums towards coverage. And this would, in essence, bring that over to dental insurance, such that 80% of the revenue brought in from dental insurance has to go out to pay for dental services, if I recall correctly. Steve, I'm sure you would correct me if I'm wrong.
This is, the quote unquote millionaire tax so far has been the only ballot measure I'm really familiar with at this point. Okay. So, if I'm not, I can't really comment knowledgeably on the, on the dental insurance one, but I mean, what you're saying sounds reasonable.
Yeah, and Ballotpedia said it would establish the medical loss ratio for dental plans at 83% and require the insurer to refund the excess premium to its covered individuals and groups. The measure would authorize the insurance commissioner to waive or adjust refunds if issuing refunds would result in financial impairment of dental insurance carriers. Currently, Massachusetts is establishing an 88% medical loss ratio for medical insurance plans, but there is no medical loss ratio for dental insurance plans. So this would put in place what we have for medical insurance plans as they exist now, but at a 5% discount. So they could take, so instead of 88%, they could do 83%. So I assume that means they could have higher profits and other expenditures.
So what I understand of it is a loss ratio helps assess the health and profitability of an insurance company and what they're doing. It's very, very accounting style, so it's a little bit hard for me to explain per se, but the higher the premiums versus the amounts to be paid. So high loss ratios may indicate that business is, the higher the loss ratio, the more it's likely that the business can go into distress. So that higher number means that they're looking to make it so that dental companies have to pay out more, from what I understand. So it's basically forcing dental insurance companies to be like, nope, there's a certain amount you absolutely have to pay.
Yeah, I mean, we've certainly seen insurance companies that attempt to maximize their profits and minimize what they pay out in terms of what they pay out in terms of claims and things like that. So my understanding for this was it sets a floor under which um, it sets a floor for the services that the claims they have to pay out, um, and thus in essence cuts into their profits, which we shouldn't have profits in health insurance, but that's me. And then what's the third question?
Just to retort real quick, it is a business still. It's run as a business. And, at the end of the day, it's a very fine line between corporate structure, business, and corporate structure, municipality, as far as on the legal side of things. So that being said, it's a question of, do we want the insurance companies to be run more like a municipality, or do we want the insurance companies run more like a greedy corporation? And so you definitely want to vote yes on this one, because from my understanding, you want to vote yes because we want the insurance companies to work for the people. So the last one's pretty obvious. We have tons of cannabis shops everywhere. So why not go with the other thing that's great with cannabis, which is having a drink? This one's a simple one. It's just increase over time. Right now, there's only 10 major licenses granted. It will increase over the course of the few years to a total of 15, where they're issuing another 2 every other year. I have to look this one up real quick just to.
Yeah, I believe the current. Let's see. So incrementally increase the combined number of retail beer and wine licenses and all alcoholic beverage licenses an establishment could own from no more than 12 to no more than 18. And 12
yes,
in
18.
2023 to no more than 18 in 2031. Limit the maximum number of licenses for the sale of all alcoholic beverages an establishment could own to 7. So basically, this increases competition. This decreases competition, and it allows greater concentration within the retail beer and wine licenses.
Another thing this one does, and this is a nice little cleanup part of the law, which there is no law against selling alcoholic beverages with those automated self-checkouts. And if you know any sneaky kids, you know that they could easily grab your license or grab somebody's license who's of age and go ahead and do that checkout. And even though I don't know of any alcohol shops that do this, this will prevent them from having that path to create potential problems. So this one is a very clean question. It makes a whole lot of sense. It was very well thought out. And so it's an obvious yes.
I disagree. I think if this decreases competition and increases the concentration of the alcohol sales market, then it's not necessarily a good thing.
I don't think the people who drink still drink. I don't think that's going to really stop them from drinking. And
But
I don't
that's not
see
the question. But the question is, if there's fewer competitors, that means the profits are higher for the competitors that are left because they're able to monopolize their local markets more, or there's just less competition.
Yeah, so if there was more competition, that would drive prices down, right?
That would be the hope, yes.
Yeah, and what this does allows there to be more competition.
No, but it says it increase the number of licenses an establishment could own from no more than 12 in 2023 to no more than 18 in 2031.
Oh, I
So,
see
I
what
mean,
you're
I guess
saying.
the question is what is the how is it set up now? Um,
So essentially think of like, say Market Basket was selling alcohol.
right.
They would have in, or like a Whole Foods selling wine. So say Whole Foods is selling you your wine, well they can only have 12 establishments as of 2023, whereas they would be able to have an additional 4 establishments that sell wine. So I mean, I don't think it's really gonna, that's only 4 more locations, and those who are already established, it's not going to make a big deal. I can tell you right now that the waiting list for getting a liquor license is pretty unreal. You're going to be waiting years to get on that licensing list. It does take quite a while, and it's quite a difficult process to begin with. And so this may ease some of that because there'll be less stores fighting over the liquor licenses, because then companies could group together to get under that one liquor license. However, um, you know, I think it would be a good thing because it would allow for less more, but I'm more interested on that back end where it will prohibit those automated self checkouts for the sale of alcohol. So you have to go to a teller. So
Yeah, what's interesting are the organizations that are for it. So Save More Spirits and Massachusetts Package Stores Association are for it, but the opponents include Cumberland Farms, Massachusetts Food Association, New England Convenience Store and Energy Marketers Association, which is peculiar that they put those under unions because literally they're not unions. And then the Retailers Association of Massachusetts. So I don't know. I would say we need to look more at this, but that's my thought.
yeah, that's fair. I think we lost Steve.
I guess we did. All right. Well, we should wrap it up. Thank you everyone for watching the three of us. Thank you, Joe and Steve, as always, for participating in this fun endeavor. Please check us out at masspirates.org. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as you know, if you're going to be around on the 24th, do join us for the Extinction Rebellion March. And we'd love to have you participate in our upcoming conference on October 8th. So take care, folks. Thank you very much for watching us. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
We are done. 4 views, 1